Hey everyone, this is Curb, and I bring you another standard match. Probably the last game of the Set 7 meta, considering we have Set 8 coming up. So hopefully I'll get some content of some new decks that were released in Set 8. But until then, we have a deck that I've been putting off for as long as I possibly could, Bavsarga. And of course, what better way to entertain you with Bavsagra than with a Bavsagra mirror? But anyways, this is going to be a lot of fun to commentate, because we're going to go for left Bob and right Bob. It looks like we have right Bob going first, which, in all the times that I've seen this mirror, unironically, like, kind of going second in the Bob mirror is, like, slightly advantageous. I'll talk about a few things. Obviously, the first thing that makes it better to go second in the mirror is that you do get the 2. You get a deck then 2 instead of just the 1. Both players are shuffling. God. I don't know if you can tell, but I, very much like most other people, do not really like this deck. As we're going to go and just swing in. Characteristic of Bob, they usually don't have anything to do on their first couple turns unless they like draw a Cindy and decide to rush with it, which, you can just do because, everything just recurs itself. But, we're going to be seeing the Alpalra, checking tops 5, searching for either an arms or an overdress. Looks like we're going to be whiffing there, I believe. Yeah, and just shuffling it all back into the deck. So Alpalra is definitely one of those cards that you can call in the early game. It's yet another card that can just revive itself whenever your Vanguard gets armed. So obviously you do have to wait till next turn. But being able to like just rush is pretty good. Another reason why this mirror match tends to be a little cringe is because like Bavsagra's big weakness is that it can't really do too much in the early game, but of course Bav is when you're facing off against yourself, it's like, what are you going to be doing in the early game? Looks like we're proccing the, was that Fire Regalis? That's interesting. I mean, like, you're never calling a grade 3 off this, so I guess you might as well use it now. Trying to patch things up, calling a Trick Moon, which is like okay, I guess you get it into circulation, and specifically in this matchup you don't really have to worry about it leaving it exposed, because Bavsagra doesn't really have any non-retire removal. They're not going to be binding it or like getting rid of it in any other way, but of course at this instance it is just like a 5k booster. But we're going to be swinging at the Vanguard, getting nothing off the drive check, just swinging for another 15, which at this stage of the match is, still a decent enough number. It doesn't hit or defensive or anything, but, like, your opponent guarded the first one, so you don't really have to worry about it. But we're not going to get defensive there, so I guess it didn't really matter. I was going to go ahead and draw, discard. We'll see if left Bob does anything here. Riding into the grade 2 does absolutely nothing. It looks like we're going to call the other arms searcher, that being the Vista. Basically does the same thing, except you look at top 7 for an extra Soul Blast. And then it's just a better attacker. It's 10k, whereas the other one only gets 5k when it gets called. Alright, so it looks like off the Vista we are going to be milling a hammer as well as a Trick Moon. Does it allow you to get 2? I don't know. I don't want to read these cards any more than I have to. I'm sure you guys already read them. It was up on there. So I guess one gets added to your hand, one's get milled. I guess another benefit of the extra Soul Blast that you have to pay here. So it looks like we are just going to be swinging the van. We do play front, so I guess it is perfectly fine there. And then you also have the rear guard to attack into if this goes haywire. We do see a front there and another front being flipped on the defense there. I'm just going to be calling for the intercept there as we pass back to right Bob, who is finally going to be able to ride into Bob. Obviously, there wasn't any damage deny plays here, which, like I've said in my video, I don't really think is a very good idea, discarding the hammer to ride up. Like, yeah, you could deny them this, but, like, Bob just scales way too high, and most decks can't, compete with that. And the fact that Bob can just keep doing it over and over again is just, like, kind of annoying. Well, I guess they can't do it, like, consistently over and over again, but they only need, like, 2 turns in order to actually kill you, which is, the problem. And then, like, half the time, like, one of the most annoying things to experience when you're going into the Bob matchup is to literally clear their board, leave them with no resources, and then they go arm something and they fill their board back up, and you're like, man, I worked so hard to like get rid of everything, and now they just have a full board. Like, granted, it's probably not the best board, but you know, being able to just like recoup a board from nothing is like kind of annoying. I mean, like, on its own, it's not that annoying, but like being able to do it when you're also just like an insanely powerful deck already is honestly what I think just like tips the scale for me. Anyways, off the grade 2, we're going to be arming the shield, and then we're going to be arming the spear from the drop, which is definitely interesting. It's not something you see in a lot of Bav lists here. And I believe that is going to allow us to arm once again, as we're just going to call Cindy. Probably maybe add an arms back. Not sure what we added there. Couldn't see it. Looks like it was back to the hammer that we discarded. Honestly, though, this is not really the correct what's it called, order to do it in, because the spear gives, well, I guess it is. Honestly, the spear is just so awkward, because like it's continuous giving you 10k, but the hammer is really weird in the fact that it just gives your Vanguard 10k for the turn, which I guess is why people play it. Another thing to note there in the Bav mirror, you do kind of have to call at least one front row every single turn, even if it is just like a shitter that you just want to get retired, just so you know they don't get the extra draw off that. It's so funny to think that there's that draw attached to Bavsagra, but I swear in like 95% of the games I see against Bavsagra, it just like never happens, because that's honestly one of the best things that you can do to play around it. Just, you know, keep a rear guard in your front row for them to retire, just prevent them from getting the extra draw. Looks like on the second arm, the arm of the hammer, we are going to be finally using Bavsagra's second skill to energy charge, call back the Trick Moon. But looks like we decide to order it in a way where we overcall the Alpara on top of that Trick Moon. Kind of just like weird, awkward plays that, you know, you sometimes have to do in Bavsagra. As we call the Cindy, we're going to go ahead and overdress here. I almost said cross overdress. Counterblasting the 1 to choose 2 arms. Putting a Mason Soul, and I guess re-equipping the spear there. So now getting in the correct order. Being able to give us a full 20k plus power there. Are we planning on using the Cindy? I guess so. Yeah. Is that the second time we've Cindy'd this turn? I think so, which is just kind of insane to think about. Like, honestly, maybe that card should be at 1, or like have a hard 1 once per turn. But you know, the fact that it was made for like a shitty deck is like kind of accounts for like the lack of balancing, in my opinion. Looks like we have the first Yuuma shot being played here. Kind of preemptive. Like, I don't think you should be calling a Yuuma shot this early, especially since you can't even restand it, because your opponent does have to be at turn at grade 3 in order to actually restand, and you're also just wasting the 5k because you're just gonna call an Alpara in front of it. At this rate, just fucking push it to the front and attack with it, because that's a much nicer number there. Not sure if we actually hit anything off the Alpara there. But I guess what we are trying to do is protect it from being retired. But you know, you're literally playing Hammer, which is a card that attacks the back row. Surely you know that Yuuma shot is not long for this world. All he has to do is equip a Hammer, and it is gone. And you've just completely whiffed one of your multi-attackers. But I guess maybe you wanted the draw too, which is kind of weird. I don't know why you would want that badly. But we are going to swing for a 51 here. 2 damage. Very threatening. And of course that Trick Moon giving another 10k to the entire front row is just really annoying. It's a good thing that card's finally going to 1. Hopefully at some point. But looks like we're just going to eat this Bavsagra attack. Either we don't want to waste the PG. It makes sense. We're only at 2. But if we had flipped like a crit there, that could have been kind of disastrous. As we're going to swing the 20 from the Apollo that was called from hand. Just getting a Cindy out of the hand, which kind of unfortunate, because, you know, that could have been a 10k guard as opposed to just like another Cindy, who is a rear guard that just wants to be in the drop zone anyway. And then, of course, a front trigger being used to block the other Apollo, who is actually a good magic number, that being that 25 there. Me riding up into the Bavsagra, counterblasting the 1. I guess another reason why we took the Vanguard is we didn't want to get damage denied. I don't really know that like Bavsagra would damage deny, but if you had like PG that Vanguard and stayed at 1, obviously there's the option that you could just have 1 counterblast. You're going to use it up on the ride line in order to grab 2 from deck, and, you know, just randomly equip the shield just to draw another card. And, you know, you would be left with one counterblast, which can be a little bit of an awkward situation. Like, the only time you actually damage die Bavsagra is when, like, they've already damage denied themselves. But looks like we are checking the drop zone. We actually have a lot of things in the drop zone. So we already have a Trick Moon. We already have this Cindy, which can pop itself out with the Trick Moon. But looks like we're going to go ahead and do that Trick Moon. Oh, forget everything I said about damage denial because, you know, Trick Moon is a card. Once again, damage denial is only really good in, like, the late game because you force them to, like, overcall that back row Trickstar, which sometimes they do, but, you know, not all the time. It's just an awkward play in my opinion. But yeah, we see the hammer and goodbye Yugumashad. It was nice knowing you. You did absolutely nothing. But of course, did we use our Solin? Equip that from drop? I'm not sure. I think no, that card doesn't count as counterblast, so we could have just equipped it from hand. It looks like we're gonna go ahead and EB7 here. Go down to 3. Thanks to the extra energy charge we got from Bavsarga calling back the Trick Moon. Just drawing another card here. Obviously, we do want to keep something in the front row. Don't know if it's worth using your Yugumashads quite yet. Like, maybe you can commit 1 here. But obviously, your big push turn isn't going to come until next turn when you Persona Ride. And we haven't really seen any Verlords, or Vite-Lords, as I tend to call them. So, you know, your front row is not really doing that great. You got that 25k booster in the back, I guess. Okay, so it looks like we are going to go ahead and use the Vylord. Also, another thing that makes sense, because if he just equips another hammer, that Trick Moon's getting instantly exploded. But looks like we're actually going to use a Vylord, only choosing 1 card to arm, I believe. Don't we have the... Oh, I guess we decided to arm the shield that was in drop just to draw another card. Calling out the Cindy, which is obviously not ideal. I mean, with that Vylord there, it is at least an 18k attacker, so it is attacking. It's attacking. Yeah, its attack will hit, provided, you know, we don't see any defensives here. But, you know, obviously this is not really ideal. Usually you would, you know, equip the sword. Looks like we're going to go ahead and... Ooh, re-equip the shield by sliding the sword into the soul. That's right, we hadn't used that skill. We called the Trick Moon off of the Ride Lines arm. And looks like that's all we're going to do. We're not even going to go for triple drive. Just go for 41 straight at the Vanguard. In the front row, another 10k. Just leaving that Cindy there to be retired to prevent the draw. And looks like it's going to be calling out an over trigger. And first check is going to be the left Bav's over trigger. So we didn't have triple drive, so this Strike Veda is not as powerful. The 2 damage is going to be 2 more defensives, meaning that Cindy is no longer hitting. But we know we're going to throw down with that second Vanguard swing here. As we're going to go ahead and drive check, we need another trigger here in order to actually hit with the Cindy. Another 10k there is only going to make it 28. Yeah, because I don't think we got a trigger on the last one. But we should be at 33, so it's not going to be hitting there. Almost using the shield there in order to guard that when we didn't need to. I guess you could say things are going a little bit better for Right Bob, because, you know, you did hit 4 defensive triggers. But, you know, you also did just take an OT to the face. Obviously, it didn't kill you there. I guess if you hadn't had the PG, it would have just killed you. But, you know, it is what it is. But both OTs are out, so now Bobs are going to have to play it straight with, you know, just doing Bob things. Going to be starting off with the Persona Ride. The sole advantage I think you get from riding into, or going first with Bob in the mirror, is that you do have access to Persona Ride first. But as we're going to be seeing in this matchup, like, Bob is just, like, such a offensive and a defensive deck that, like, it doesn't have any problems, like, surviving a Persona Ride turn, for the most part. You know, you might be able to, like, diminish a lot of their resources if you were able to deal a lot of damage in the early game, but outside of that, like, they're pretty much fine. The third Apalra being called from hand, I believe, this time. Yeah, that's 3 Apalras, because we called one turn 2, we revived it, and then we called another one that same turn. So this is like the 3rd one, which is really weird. We haven't seen any Divisties. Maybe we're not playing it. Understandable, I guess, because like you do kind of need your soul for your defense, but I think you can manage enough soul. And just another thing that Bob has going for that. You have Cindy that goes to soul. You have not Trick Moon, Vylord that puts things to soul. You have Bavsarga herself that puts cards to soul. Like, you have more than enough resources for anything that you want to do. Looks like we're going to be putting a Trick Moon in order to equip the sword there, giving the front row another 5k. Man, that effect really should not have been able to be stackable. Like, I get why they did it, but like, I think just like one 5k probably would have been fine. But the fact that you can just loop it over and over again is like kind of insane. And from that one arm, we see a total of 3 rear guards being called out from the drop zone. Instantly going to overdress onto that Trick Moon that we called there, protecting it from any hammers. And we're going to be equipping the second sword of the turn, giving another 5k to all the front row units. I guess they just wanted Bavsarga to be like Azel, because, you know, that's what Azel's promo does. Except this doesn't give any power to the Vanguard, which is like, bruh. But anyway, swinging this 51 here, going to be PG'd. We're finally going to go ahead and commit that. We are 3 damage, so obviously a crit does just kill us here, so we don't want to be risking anything. Triple drive, going to be 3 blanks there. Guess you used up all your triggers on the defensive, huh? But, you know, Bavsarga still has a ton of cards in hand. You know, maybe that's another problem I have with Bavsarga. The fact that they get triple drive without having to do any work, or like discarding or getting anything other than, I guess, like 1 card from hand. But like, you get advantage from that 1 card in hand already. It's not like you're minusing. But looks like we're doing this other one with the Vylord there. How much is this? It popped up on screen. This is hitting well over 40. Let's see, it's just like 18 plus another 40. 58, casual 58. Gee, thanks. And then this other one's still hitting for 55. Looks like we're going to be using the shield here, putting us up to 33 there. So I think that's going to call for another, 25-point guard there, which is just like, well, why is this deck allowed to have numbers that big, like, very consistently? I guess that was only 3 attacks, but, you know, the fact that those could be big numbers and it could have been more than 3 attacks is just insane to me. Anyways, Bob going to be Persona riding here. And I guess we're going to deploy our board. You know, maybe I should do a plug for myself. You know, if you guys are actually enjoying this video, don't forget to, like, do all those YouTube things. You know, hit that subscribe button. I haven't been doing as much fight commentaries as I usually do. That's just because this format is kind of stale. I don't like recording a ton of Bob matches. But, you know, I'm doing other content. We've been doing some podcasts. Trying to branch out, do some other stuff. But, you know, hopefully you guys like it. I still have, like, a couple of big projects that I need to, like, actually finish. And just, like, having to do a lot of fight commentaries does tend to take away from my ability to do that. But I should have more than enough time. Anyways, let's get back to the match. We are going to be arming... What do we arm? I think we armed the sword, and then we call back the Trick Moon, and then the Cindy pops out as well. And then we're just going to slide the Cindy back into the soul to add the hammer back. No point in really going for the hammer unless I guess you want more power on your Vanguard, just because the back row is completely protected at this point. We're going to go ahead and call that the Vista. They're checking the top 7. Soul blasting out the Cindy, so you know it's already set up for the next turn. Just going to mill a Trick Moon, just getting another piece into circulation, so that we could theoretically at some point in the future go for the triple Vylord back row, which is honestly like the most giga annoying thing ever. Having a rear guard that powerful that you can't touch is just really annoying. Alright, so it looks like we are going to go for the second Vylord. So both Bobs have 1 apiece, or 1 apiece, 2 apiece. And then going to be going ahead and using the Vylord skill yet again. Rearming the shield. That's like the 3rd time we've rearmed the shield. I guess in this matchup you do kind of need a bulk up. And you're not really losing too much. I guess you're just losing out on like another, what's it called? Another 5k to the front row. But it looks like we're cutting on another front row Cindy. In case you haven't noticed, there's been a grand total of exactly 1 Yugama shot this entire game, which is kind of funny, which is why this game is taking so long. as we just have two Bobs that do nothing but swing 3 times at each other. But this is a pretty powerful swing here. What is that, 51? And it looks like the right Bob is going to be attempting to hard guard this. As we're going to go ahead and commit, let's see, that's 40, 50, that's 68, I believe, which I think should be a 2 to pass against this, is it 48, 58? I guess we're going to be counting some triggers here. Probably cut this out. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and check. I believe that is a 2 to pass, because I think we're at 46, so we need to hit 2. We're not going to go for it. We're going to go ahead and give power to the Vista there as we check. I think it was finally a Yuga Mashad, as well as another Persona Ride. This Cindy, tiny-ass grade 1, going to be swinging for 33, which is another thing that honestly is not okay. I don't like it when weenies are able to like swing for massive numbers. Maybe, well, I mean, Cindy could have been at 43. I don't know if that's a better play because it is like technically smaller. The common knowledge is you always swing with your smaller attacks first, right? So we could have gone like 65 there and then 43. But instead we opted to go for 33 and like, what is it? Was it 53 or 63? I don't know. But anyways, we are finally going to push the Bob, the right Bob, I should say, to 5 damage. So it's looking like they kind of have to close things out this turn. I think they just have like 2 cards in hand now, thanks to having to guard all those attacks. Yeah, it looks like we're down to 3 cards in hand here, as we are going to, what are we going to do here? I guess this, well, yeah, as soon as we arm, we can just call back the Apalras, call back a Trick Moon, call back the Cindy, just get a full free board here. So it looks like we're going to opt to actually arm the Spear, which I guess allows us to play another arms this turn, call back the Trick Moon, call back the Cindy, and then that's going to go for EV3 in order to call back the Apara, who is going to be getting another 5k as well. If we have the last Vylord, that would be pretty sweet. Although, actually, can't the Cindy just get back a Vylord? It is Overdress or arms, right? But looks like we are not sure what we are doing here. Oh, we're Soul Blasting the 2. And yep, we have the 3rd Vylord there. So now we've got Giga Cringe O'Clock here with the triple Vylord here. Going to be using a skill to arm the sword there. Going for the triple drive. Definitely helpful if you're trying to live another turn. Because obviously left Bob I think is at 3 or 4 damage. I don't know. They moved their damage out of camera. Sorry about that. I probably should have been keeping track, but you know, it's a Bob mirror. What else do you want me to say? Anyways, we're going to go ahead and swing in the Bob. Going to be throwing down that PG. I think that's only the 2nd PG out from the left Bob there, as we're going to get a critical trigger on the second one, just giving it to Apara, and hitting a heal trigger there, which is actually pretty big, because that does allow you to take in one of the attacks. Obviously, you can't hit take the Vanguard, but you know, the fact that the rear is going to be absolutely swole is definitely very much appreciated here. Giving double the triggers to this other Apara here. Yuga Mashal would be really cool in this situation, as we're going to swing yet again for a 58. Just this fucking triple Vylord, and then swing for a final 88 for 2 damage here, regardless of whether they were at 4 or 3. You know, that's going to be enough to just kill them, as we are going to, looks like we're going to try to hard guard this 83 here, as we're going to be soul, or 83, 88, 20k, that goes up to 50, that is 63, what is it? No, that's 73, because that's 3 stacks of 20, so that's 63, so we would need, what is that, like 25k more? No, 30 more. As we're going to throw down a heal and another heal. Oh yeah, it's just 20 more. So that's 4 increments of 20. 480. Yeah, that's 93. Which is enough to guard the 88, which is insane that you were able to do that. As we're going to go ahead and Persona Ride. Yet another instance of those counter heals not really being that good. Well, I mean, he didn't draw into any Yuga Mashad, so, you know, obviously they weren't going to get any use out of them. Going to be putting a crit into the soul there in order to arm. Probably just sword, I think, here, because obviously, like, the hammer or the mace, whatever you want to call it, isn't really going to be doing anything here. Yeah, just going for the sword. For the triple drive, get the extra 5k. It's going to give us another energy there, and going to be calling out the Trick Moon and the Cindy yet again. And then if we have the last Vylord, we could technically throw it in there. Actually, we have the Cindy, so literally just Cindy to Soul. We Soul Blasted a Vylord last turn, so we can just add it back, call it. The problem is, like, what else do you have in your hand to be the other attacker? Because we do know that we have the Yuma Shot from the drive check last turn. Oh god. It is that point in the game where we start counting the triggers. Well, you can see 3 heals. Ooh, now that I'm just looking at it, is that a triple counter attack heal? Interesting. I guess you're just really teched out for the mirror. I guess. Ooh, we had an Aparo of our own in the drop zone. I think we'd even seen that out of left Bob at this point. But it looks like we're going to go ahead and put the Cindy into Soul. Probably adding the Vylord back if I had to guess. But no, it looks like we're just going to add the sword. Makes sense as well. I think that's also a pretty good option. Just because, you know, you get another 5k. You're definitely trying to kill them this turn. I mean, what you could have done to be funny is, you know, call the Yuma Shot, ditch the sword, draw 2 cards. But at this point, it's really unnecessary. But looks like we're not going to go for the Vylord there. But of course, that is still a very powerful column. Trick Moon is still a 25k booster. Just do not forget that. As this first swing is already here for 55. We should only have, what is that? Oh, we almost forgot to Soul Blast the 2 there, but obviously, you know, it's whatever. As we are going to be this 55, 6 cards in hand, I believe, because we ended the turn with 3, and then we had triple drive. But looks like we're going to take the first one. Definitely makes sense. It's probably the most, the safest one that you can take here. But unfortunately, it is not a defensive, which is something we definitely needed if we want to have any chance of actually surviving this. But this Vanguard, so we're 51, I believe, there that we saw. We're going to opt to hard guard it again. So that's a 50k shield. That's a 63. That's 2 to pass with this triple drive. So we'll have to see if we can actually break it. But even if we can't, I don't think it really matters because, like, you just committed 2 more cards from hand. You have 4. Are you going to be able to guard both of these attacks with just 4 cards in hand off of a double Vylord? So it looks like we're going to give crit to the Yuma Shot, but the power to the Vanguard just in case we break there, and then just hit with the 2 damage. But, you know, I don't think it's really going to matter as we're going to swing with this Apara, giving it another 10k to the front row, going for 68. Unless you have like 2 more PGs in your hand, you're not really living this. And even then, you're going down to like 1 card in hand, which I guess is all you need because you can just call back your fucking Regards from the drop zone. But we're not going to be able to guard that, so we're just going to take it. And that is the end of the match. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do 2 things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.